Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we're jumping right into something absolutely fascinating today. We're going to decode a hidden linguistic and topological architecture found right within the Quran. Basically, we're tracking a very specific energetic circuit, one that shows us exactly how power and support flow, or, in many cases, how they get completely bottlenecked. It's honestly a masterclass in how language maps directly to human psychology and our spiritual growth.
Let's kick things off with a single Arabic root word, alif zay ra, or Āzar. Now, you might be thinking this is just a generic word for being strong, but it's really not. It's an energetic charge. It translates to dynamic strength, a spine, or a structural support that inherently demands movement. Think of it like kinetic energy. It's a force that's meant to move through a circuit, constantly flowing and adapting. It's the kind of strength that holds things together precisely so they can grow.
On the total flip side of that, we have the root sad nun mim, or ṣanam, which translates to an idol. And in this framework, an idol isn't just an ancient statue you'd see in a museum. It actually represents a static trap. It's literally a freeze frame of dead mass. When that dynamic energy we just talked about stops flowing, when it calcifies and loses its momentum, it turns into a ṣanam. It's basically the ultimate dead end for any kinetic force.
So this sets up the central conflict of our narrative today. We're looking at a stark binary choice. On one hand, a living, breathing circuit of dynamic movement, and on the other, a dead-end, static trap. It's the eternal tension between inner, living growth, that Azar that supports life, and the dead, freeze frame of the ego, the ṣanam. As you'll see, strength absolutely has to transform and be shared, or else it hardens into an idol.
Here's our roadmap for the four-phase engine we're building today. We've got 1. The anatomy of strength. 2. Node 1, the calcified ego. 3. Node 2, the living support. 4. Node 3, the vital return. 5. Node 4, self-sustaining growth. And finally, 6. Sealing the universal circuit.
Section 1. The anatomy of strength, laying out the 4 nodes of the circuit.
To understand how to avoid getting stuck in the trap of the idol, we first have to map out the journey of strength. The root of strength travels chronologically through these 4 distinct phases, acting like a spiritual circuit. It starts with a name claimed by the ego, moves to an offering of support, goes through a vital breaking that forces a return, and eventually resolves into a fully rooted, self-sustaining plan. Every single phase is a critical test of how we handle power.
Section 2, Node 1, the calcified ego, or the D10 trap of Azar.
Let's see how this first dangerous trap gets built right out of the gate. In verse 674, the sequence starts with the prophet Ibrahim confronting his father. Now, the linguistics here are incredible. His father's name is Azar, which literally means strength. But what is this strength actually doing? He has taken aṣnāman, idols, as gods. The entire topology is exposed right here. A name that literally means dynamic strength is welded directly to dead idols.
The takeaway here is huge. When strength is claimed entirely by the self, it freezes. We refer to this as the D10 state. It's pure ego claiming ownership of the center, but without any actual orbit or connection to a higher purpose. Azar is the perfect archetype of strength that just never asks for help. And because it refuses to flow or ask, it calcifies into an idol. It's strength trapped by its own pride.
Section 3, Node 2, the living support, or the I9 integral function.
Now we shift from claiming strength to offering it. Fast forward to verse 2031, where Musa, Moses, is given a massive task. Notice what he does. He doesn't puff his chest and claim he's strong enough on his own. He asks for his brother Harun as a helper, saying, "Strengthen my spine, azrī with him." It's the exact same root, the exact same phoneme, but the strength isn't hoarded by an ego anymore. It's requested, and it's offered as a living support to the messenger.
Harun here acts as the living Āzar. He is the true living spine, what we call the I9 integral function. He absorbs the burden so the mission can actually continue forward. But, and here's the really tragic irony, even with this incredible living support right there with them, Bani Israel still default to their old habits. They literally had the living Āzar in their midst, and yet they still chose to build that dead golden calf.
They had dynamic, living strength standing right in front of them, and they still chose the dead idol, the ṣanam. They were completely addicted to the static freeze frame. Which brings us to a really difficult question. How do you force a system to wake up when it actively prefers the illusion? How on earth do you break a trap that people actually want to be inside of?
Section 4, Node 3, the vital return, where Ibrahim shatters the static form.
This is the inflection point of the whole circuit. In verse 21:58, Ibrahim takes direct physical action. He breaks the idols into fragments, but then he does something brilliant. He leaves the largest one standing. Why? Well, the verse tells us that they might return, yarjuun, to it. He leaves the biggest idol standing as a strategic maneuver. He wants the people to ask the idol a question, knowing full well it can only answer with pure, dead silence.
This is a beautiful topological mechanism. The return, yarjuun, isn't actually a return to the physical idol. By shattering the external, false authority, that trapped energy is forcefully redirected inward. As the Quran reveals, they are forced to return to anfusihim, their own selves. Shattering the ṣanam is literally the only way to force that inner recognition and finally break the loop of the ego.
Section 5, Node 4, Self-Sustaining Growth, or the 7-Node Completion.
Here is where the energy finally stabilizes. We've gone from the ego to offered support to the violent shattering of illusions, and now to integration. In verse 48:29, the root Azar shows up in its final perfected form. Describing the believers, it uses this vivid metaphor of a plant, a seed whose shoot emerges, so it strengthened it, azarahu. Same root, but now the strength isn't a person and it isn't an ego claim. It's the internal structural integrity of a living organism standing firmly on its own stem.
The energy that was misused by Azar, offered as support by Harun, and unlocked when Ibrahim broke the idols, has finally been completely internalized. This completes the 7-node loop. The strength is now self-sustaining. There is no external idol, no ṣanam whatsoever needed to hold it up. The circuit is fully complete.
Section 6, Sealing the Universal Circuit, the complete DCU topology.
Let's take a step back and look at the master architecture we just mapped out. This matrix perfectly sums up the 4-part topological circuit. Just look at the progression. At node 1, strength is a dead freeze frame claimed by the ego. At node 2, it transforms into living support offered to the messenger. At node 3, the false forms are shattered, creating a recursion. The energy bounces off the broken idol and redirects right back into the self. And finally, at node 4, the strength blossoms into self-sustaining growth.
The absolute fundamental law of this circuit is that strength must continually flow. If it stops, it calcifies into the exact trap it was meant to overcome. Being fixated at node 1, which was Bani Israel's issue, just rebuilds Azar's error. You just end up trapped in the idol over and over. You cannot reach the self-sustaining growth of node 4 without passing through that shattering and internal return of node 3. Because at the end of the day, the idol is simply strength that forgot to ask for help.
So, I want to leave you with this thought to reflect on. Where are you trapped in this circuit right now? Are you hoarding your strength like an idol, just worshiping the freeze frame of your own ego? Or are you ready to shatter those static forms, activate the inner return, and let your strength finally become a living, growing force? The circuit is there, waiting for you. The only question left is, when will you activate 1912?